to an interesting and quiet journey into the past. Tonight, we'll leave behind the noise of the modern world and drift slowly into the quiet halls of a medieval monastery. Let your eyes grow heavy, your breath slow, as we walk, step by step, through the peaceful and structured life of a medieval monk. We will explore not wars, nor kings, nor battles, but silence, scripture, and simple routines. So settle in, lie back, and prepare to travel not in space, but in time. Let us begin. In the heart of the medieval countryside, surrounded by open fields and distant forests, stood a monastery, often built from cold grey stone, with high walls and rounded arches. These buildings were quiet havens, far from the bustle of towns. Monasteries were more than just homes for monks. They were places of worship, centers of learning, and hubs of quiet labor. Most were designed around a cloister, an open courtyard with covered walkways where monks would pace silently. You would hear only the soft rustling of robes, perhaps the turning of a page, and always the distant sound of a bell. Life in a medieval monastery was guided by a sacred text, the Rule of Saint Benedict. Written in the 6th century, this rulebook offered guidance for monastic life. It emphasized obedience, silence, humility, and routine. The rule divided each monk's day into periods of prayer, study, and manual labor. There was little room for choice or indulgence. Every hour had a purpose. Every day followed the same sacred rhythm. It was this repetition, this order, that gave monks a sense of peace. The bell tolled long before sunrise. The first service of the day was called vigils or matins. It might begin at 2 or 3 in the morning. In the dark, cold chapel, monks gathered silently, carrying small candles, their sandals echoing softly on the stone floors. They chanted psalms in Latin, slowly, in low voices. There was no rush. After matins came lauds, the second prayer of the day, offered as the first light of dawn touched the monastery walls. The morning air was often crisp, windows glazed with thin frost, and yet the monks stood still, wrapped in woolen robes, reciting sacred verses in unison. After prayer, the monks would eat a simple meal, perhaps some coarse bread, a bit of cheese, and a drink of watered wine. Then came manual labor, a key part of monastic life. Some monks worked in the garden, growing leeks, onions, and herbs. Others tended to animals, chickens, goats, perhaps a single ox. Scribes returned to the scriptorium, a room lined with desks and manuscripts. Here they would spend long hours copying texts, letter by careful letter, using quill pens and ink made from soot and oak galls. The only sounds were the gentle scratch of pen on parchment and the occasional sigh as a candle flickered low. At midday, the bell rang again, calling monks to sext, the midday prayer. After prayer, they gathered for the main meal of the day. This was eaten in silence, while one monk stood and read aloud from scripture. The food was humble, maybe lentils, boiled vegetables, barley bread. Meat was rare, often forbidden. After eating, there was a brief time for rest or meditation, and then back to study or more labor. The rhythm of the day continued, steady, uninterrupted, like a quiet stream, flowing without urgency. As the sun lowered, monks gathered for vespers, the evening prayer. The chapel glowed gently with candles, their flames dancing on the stone walls. They sang psalms once more, voices blending in calm, harmonious tones. After Vespers came a final light meal, perhaps broth and a small piece of bread. The day ended with Compline, the final prayer before sleep. It was a time of reflection, of silence, of surrender. After Compline, the monastery became still. No voices, no footsteps, only the wind outside and the whisper of robes brushing past. Silence was not just a rule, it was a way of life. Monks spoke rarely, and only when necessary. They believed that quiet brought them closer to God. Communication happened through gestures, or not at all. In the cloisters, monks would walk slowly, heads bowed. There was no rush, no noise, just stillness. The outside world, with its wars, politics, and chaos, felt distant. Here, inside these ancient walls, time moved differently. Let us return once more to the scriptorium, a long, narrow room, lit by tall windows during the day and candles at night. Monks sat in silence, copying texts by hand. Some were sacred texts, Bibles, psalters, commentaries. Others were Roman works, medical treatises, or ancient philosophy. The process was slow, painstaking, sacred. Each letter was formed with care. Margins were decorated with golden vines, blue inks, tiny animals. A single manuscript might take months to complete, and still there was no hurry. This was their gift to the world, knowledge preserved through patience. And so the day came to an end. The bells grew silent. The candles burned low. The monks returned to their beds, wooden frames with straw mattresses, wrapped in woolen blankets. They closed their eyes, their thoughts simple, their minds still. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, and the stone walls of the monastery stood, as they had for centuries, quiet, unmoved, and eternal. Sleep now, as they slept, in peace, in silence, in rhythm. Good night.